Just wanted to show you why I've been scrubbing this down. Now, I got this centre section as a bit of temporary measure. It was dirt cheap, it was like 23 quid delivered. And I just want to show you why, because the quality of these things is absolutely dreadful, which is fair enough when you're paying 20 quid. They painted over these, which were rusty underneath, so already rusting underneath the paint. And you can see at the end there that it's already rusting under the paint. So just be aware, guys, if you are spending 20 odd quid on a silencer, this is the sort of quality you'll expect. Why did I do it? Well, namely because who knows if we're going to keep this 2.2, we shall see, but also there's no real stainless manufacturers operating at the moment with Corona, so getting a whole stainless system might not even be feasible at this point. So I just rubbed this down, going to slap it in some VHT black paint. Again, bit of an experiment, see how the black paint does, and see how we go. So this was just a bit of a messed about, cheap silencer, bit of VHT, and we'll see how it comes up. So that was the paint that I'm using, and it goes on with a brush quite well. It dries off, it goes on real thin, so it spreads easily, and it starts to dry off fairly quickly, so you can do a few coats. I'm just letting it dry a bit more because there's some areas that I need to touch up again, but yeah, it goes on pretty well at the very least. So while we're on the topic of exhausts, I want to show you some other parts that I got. These are second-hand parts, but I thought I'd snap them up whilst I could. So whilst we're on the topic of the exhaust, I couldn't resist snapping up this as a bit of a bargain. So this is actually a decat downpipe section. There is a bung there for the lambda if I want to use it. The centre section's a little bit scuffed up, but inside there you can see that the inside is still intact. So whether I do a bit of a wrap situation around this, don't know. But anyway, this is a 4-into-1 exhaust manifold that somebody's previously wrapped. And so this usually retails for £245, just these two bits, and I got these for 90, so we're going to slap them on and see how she runs. Obviously I'll need a cat solution for the MOT, so whether or not we chop this up or just get a cheap cat section, again off eBay, I think they're about 110 quid, something like that. But sort of show you these couple of bits. A nice 4-into-1 collector. Should sound fairly raspy. So again, I might take this wrap off, give this a bit of a lick of paint, get rid of this rust, give it a lick of paint, and should be good to go. Okay, so I've done the same thing. I did a rub down on the header and the downpipe and given them a coat in VHT as well, so hopefully give the exhaust some protection whilst it's on there, and so that's the end result of today's labour. Got the headers, downpipe and the centre section in the VHT, very high temperature black paint. It's come out looking well, so yeah, good. So to get the heat shield mounted back on, we need to sort of emulate this stud, which is an M6. So what I'm going to do is, what I've done is grind down those rotten studs that were all snapped off, ready for a two-stage plan. So I'm going to use some JB Weld, which is like extremely strong epoxy. So JB Weld some studs back on there, and around the studs we'll use some Tiger Seal so that the heat shield gets glue from the Tiger Shield and uses the studs as well. So that's one little job under here done. So another thing I've been doing is JB welding on these studs. So we need to give those a good 24 hours, 48 hours to cure, and then we'll see how strong they are, whether they're going to work or not. Remains to be seen, but hey, we've got to try these things out, haven't you? So what I did with these bolts is I actually shaved 2 flat pieces in the head just to make sure that there's some grip in that direction so that they don't just twist off as soon as we start tightening the nuts on. But yeah, we shall see if that's going to work or not. So the plan is to use these as a bit of a guide for the heat shield, and then we'll put a splodge of Tiger Seal around the back as well, I think, something like that, just to be doubly sure. So this was the downpipe that was on it, and it had been decatted already. Sorry, it had been decatted already, and like I was saying before, the flexi was a bit naff, so when I was undoing this, it actually ruined the flexi. But anyway, we managed to get the lambda off eventually, so we might be able to save that. This was a bit manky, as you can see, so we've got the fresh new downpipe to go in there anyway, so that's good. So yeah, another little job ticked off as well. So we're ready to get this heat shield mounted in once I give it another quick wash out under here, get rid of all this dirt. You can see I've had a go at seam sealing now the repair that I was doing for the floor pan, so that's ready to go back into a bit of paint. So yeah, another little job ticking off. Now I should really show you this engine. Oh, I don't know if you can see all this, but it is absolutely blathered in oil and grime. Yeah, horrible stuff. So it's going to have multiple oil leaks, is this engine. But anyway, it's good to see oil. You don't want to see a completely bone dry engine, so hopefully once we get this engine somewhere out, we can replace all the gaskets and should be good again. But anyway, so we're slow, as you can see, we're slowly working towards the front of the car. We are getting there. Once the heat shield's back in and the centre section's in, we can rebuild the rear axle. Woohoo! And now back in the arch on the driver's side, we've finally got this into some paint and a bit of varnish. You can see how clean she's looking. Or at least I hope you can, it might be a bit dark. But yeah, that's looking clean. Just need to do the other side as well. So this is the same story. Well, I didn't actually rub this back to metal. I left the factory surface there, which is really good wax seal from factory. So rub that back down a little bit just to clean up all the dirt and grime and everything. We applied the Gravitex over that, and then we applied the red paint over the Gravitex, and then finished off with a gloss varnish. So yeah, not looking too bad. So far so good. So this is just a quick one on how I am dealing with cleaning the underneath of the car. I'm trying to do this archway ready for paint. And what I use is this heavy duty degreasant from Screwfix. I use my trusty brush and a bucket. And what I wanted to show you was, I don't know if you can see it, but in there's some bits of red. So this degreaser and this brushing action is actually working its way into the top layer of paint, so it's almost like a bit of a key as well. So I'll come back to you in a minute when I've brushed it all over and you'll see what it looks like. Right, so as you're brushing it in, you'll coat the surface and do a bit of a keying at the same time, and then we're just going to rinse this off with a hose pipe, and then we just need to get that all dry. So you can see just by this tissue how much of the paint we're keying into. It must be going in some form or another into the paint a little bit with that. Now the other thing I'm going to do before I get the Gravitex layer on top of this is underneath here there will be some rust patches just to rub back, and then I'll spray that with the chassis paint. And here there's a bit of a seam that's just starting to crack, so we'll rub that back, and just in there as well, nothing major. And you can see why we want to keep this layer on, because it's done such a good job from the factory that we can keep that on there and just use it on top, go on top of it. Thumbs up. Okay, so there's 2 layers of the Gravitex on under here with the roller, and you can even get under there with the roller, believe it or not. With a small roller you'll be able to do all the areas that you need to do under here. So we're going to let that dry a bit, and then we'll probably do 2 more coats, ready for paint probably tomorrow. And then we can, I think I'm going to paint up the, I realised I hadn't painted yet the bolts which hold the axle brackets on there, and maybe there. So I'm going to paint those bolts up, and then the axle mounts will be ready to go back on. I've got them painted in black, if you remember. I don't know if I showed them, but I painted those with black a while ago. So the axle mounts can finally go back on, and then progress is being made on the rear end. Now one thing I wanted to point out, these arches are in a bit of a state. You can see someone's had a bit of a chow down them. Yeah, not very nice. So my focus has just been on the underneath, and eventually this is going to have to get done, maybe professionally, we shall see. So I'm leaving all the exterior of this car for either somebody else or me when I've got a nice indoors area or something to do it in. Yeah, there's various bits of paintwork along here that need attention. If you look at the bonnet, stone chipped like mad. So yeah, the exterior of the car is going to need somebody with a better touch to do it, with all this lack appeal on the roof going on. So I think it needs a full respray, and I ain't going to do that because I'll just mess it up. But somebody can have a go at that, can't they? Make it look fresh. So yeah, my attention is all to do with the underneath, to do with the chassis, getting this thing riding properly, and then the paintwork will be one of the last stages of the project. So yeah, thanks for watching again, guys. Hope you're staying well. Me signing out for another week.